are bringing Pour It 4 back on Mondays at 4. I know, we're very excited. That's very exciting. So, again, if you are not used to the Pour It 4, what we do is we wander through the distillery, we talk to people we meet, we make drinks, we teach you a little bit about bartending. And here we are with Keith. It's a Pour It 4 miracle.
Just making myself a little nightcap, a little something smooth and easy for the evening. Welcome back, guys. We are super excited to be seeing you again, and we got a bunch of episodes planned, so make sure to stay tuned. But before we get doing any of that, we need you to know what tools of the trade go with this. Now, odds are somewhere around your house you have a liquor cabinet or a little bar cart that's got a bunch of these little tools, one of these guys laying around. Maybe not this big, but if you do, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, good for you.
But this is what's called a cobbler shaker. There's actually multiple styles of shaker. This is the one that's most common in the home. It's actually not the one most common in bars.
It is my least favorite shaker to use.
It is many. Why? It has its perks. Usually this little lid is about 1.5 ounces. Great for measuring out a cocktail. Inside of here, you'll see it's got a little strainer. The downside, it never wants to. I did it!
That's the downside.
So that's called a cobbler shaker. You can see the big problem is this likes to stick on the top end. Alright, so what are the ones that you're going to see in bars? That's going to be what's called a Boston shaker.
Yay! The Boston
Upsides.
shaker. Oh my, it's running away. Hold on.
So what? Paying attention?
Yeah,
Alright,
we're doing great.
So, very easy to assemble and disassemble, especially as things get colder, which they're going to while you're shaking it. Very easy to add things to. You're kind of just working with a nice open space. The only downside, which I don't really think is a downside once you learn how to use it, is you have to pour out of the strainer for your drinks. But that's why you're going to see these everywhere. And also, this is basically a pint glass. And so it's going to mix into a lot of a bar's standard glass cleaning racks so they can run them, bring them right back out again. So, now we've figured out how to use shakers. We should probably move on to what's going to go in those shakers. Behold, jiggers. Now, here's two. They come in a huge variety of sizes. One of the things to know is 1.5 ounces is your standard shot size. So a lot of recipes that you'll end up seeing, a lot of the ones that we're going to use, is in some way usually using quantities that can be broken down in 1.5 ounces to make life a little easier. You'll usually have 1.5 ounces on one, maybe it's a 1/2 ounce on this side, maybe it's 1 ounce on one side and 2 ounces on the other. Just make sure to look at the fine print to know what you're making and how much of it when you're using these guys. Alright.
Spoons!
I know, these guys look a little bit different. We're actually going to be talking about that later. But
3
these
people
are
joined the
cocktail
video
spoons.
while we yelled spoons, and that makes me really happy.
It makes me super happy. Thank you for coming and listening to me talk about spoons. No, these are cocktail spoons. They come with a variety of shapes on both ends because they'll come with a variety of jobs. You'll hear about a cocktail being shaken, not stirred. In fact, that's what our little shaker says. Whenever you shake something, you water it down. That's actually the intent. You're going to make it really, really cold, and you're actually intending on diluting it. When you stir it, you don't want it to actually get watered down. You're just trying to chill it a little bit. So that's why it's really important. A lot of martinis, you will want it just stirred. You're just chilling it and not diluting it in any way. Now, this little swizzle part also has some fun jobs, but we'll cover that later. And this little flat part has even more. Now, the other thing you'll see if you really want to up your bartending game is strainers.
I know that strainer.
It's a really good strainer. Came from a great person. Really nice. Loaned me her bar bag for this.
It's my bar bag.
So, with these, you can end up making a lot of froth. Maybe you want your cocktail to look really clean. Maybe you want the bubbles all brought out of it, especially after you've shaken it. A big job that this strainer does is not only is it going to be catching more of that ice if you have little tiny particles, it's going to make that cocktail look super clean when it goes into the glass because you're going to be eliminating all these air bubbles from it. Makes it just a nice smooth finish before it hits your guest. Now, my personal favorite.
Your guest can also be for yourself. It's fine.
I have a lot of guests at my house. The most simple and most wonderful tool in a bartending kit. Do you need an actual muddler? No, you can basically mash the crap out of a lot of things with anything as long as it fits in the glass.
It feels
But,
better doing it with the muddler, though.
well, it does. But I've also used it with a rolling pin and a pinch,
That's
and it's
fair.
worked out
I've
fine.
used it with the bar spoon.
You can make it work. But the long story short is what this is doing is you'll get these really fun cocktails that are muddled, where you're getting basil or a mint julep, right?
Yep.
It's going to be one of your most classics. You're going to be doing mint in there, you're going to be doing whiskey in there, you're going to be doing a little bit of sugar. And when you're working with those fresh herbs, it's kind of like a mortar and pestle. You're trying to kind of squeeze all these oils out and bring that into it. And in a last-ditch effort, it can be used for self-defense as the bartender if you really need to teach someone a lesson.
Yeah, I
Now,
love it.
speaking of that, I love this. Looks like a little just bag ready to go.
Ooh.
Garnishing. So now we've figured out how to make a pretty cocktail. How do we make it prettier? So in this, you're going to have a variety of zesters. You're going to have a variety of peelers. You're going to have a melon baller. All of these are the different tools, and there should be a knife right here.
Yeah,
It's gone. Walkabout.
the knife is somewhere else. This is everybody's standard peeler, right? This is the one people know about. Some of these just give you different styles of peel. You can also use some of these to core things. Obviously, the melon baller works
for
several
balling
other ways.
melons.
It's specifically for melons. This is what I would call a basic garnish kit. I also have one at home that is probably got 30 tools.
A bit more elaborate.
That is, to be honest, unnecessary, but fun nonetheless.
And that's the thing. It's really, really fun. And then once you have that, you're going to have this neat, just beat-up looking lemon or beat-up looking lime from all the zesting and garnishing you've done with it. You can always put it to work in one of these. There's a ton of ways to juice, but almost classically, this is your go-to juicer.
Okay.
Its nickname is the Mexican elbow. Counter to what you might think, you actually put the round side up of whatever the citrus is that you put here, and you literally are squeezing it inside out to get the most juice possible out of it on the other side. And these are always great because it's a little just handheld tool for making whatever drinks you need in a quick little cocktail. Now, this one might not seem as important, but to all of our whiskey drinkers, if you really want to get into the really fun styles of ice cubes, ice orbs, the ones where it's a very delicate, singular piece of ice, the best way to do it is with a set of tongs. And yes, you are required every time you pick up a set of tongs
It's true.
to click it twice to make sure it actually works.
It's bartender law. We can't help it.
This does pass on to grilling and cooking out for all of us as well. Basically, any tongs need to be clicked twice to ensure they work, or they might explode.
It's true.
All right. Now, other ones that you don't really want to be caught without. First one, church key. I think
That's a church key. Yep.
So on this side, you have your classic style bottle opener. And on this side, you have your violent bottle opener. So this is the one you'll have these really old cans of tomato juice, really old cans of pineapple juice. You're going to go ahead, and this will actually pierce inside of one side, pierce in the other. We don't have to do that as much, but if you're saving yourself some money, you're going to want one of these.
The good ones have magnets on them,
So they
and
live
they
on your
just
refrigerator.
live on top of your refrigerator. That's where mine lives.
Now, the Swiss Army knife of drinking, the bottle opener. The wine bottle opener. These come in many styles,
Zoom in here.
and all the fun tools that it does. This guy is for cutting your foil, always around the bottle. This is obviously the corkscrew you're going to use into it, and then make sure to fold this part in before you do the next half.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But that's good. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah,
And then this is what you're going to use to actually lift up that cork.
it's the wedge for the pressure.
And again, you'd think that we would have these around all the time. This is the only corkscrew that lives down
and it
here.
came out of my bar bag.
And we watch for it closely.
And it
because
will go
can get lost.
back in my bar bag.
It totally will. All right.
Or else.
Next up, another one that's undervalued but very, very important is going to be this ice scoop. Plastic ones, you'll be tempted to get fancy metal ones. And the metal ones get cold, and the ice is going to stick to them every time you're trying to do something. If you want to actually have a nice ice scoop, you want a nice, smooth, easy plastic one. Ice isn't going to stick to it, it'll serve your guests. Now, this is kind of a basic selection of items you want to have around for a bunch of the recipes that we're looking for. Basically trying to do here in Portland. But we should probably take something
What we should pour
We should
at
pour
4,
at 4,
13.
10, 13. Okay, good to know. So, we'll talk about these ones later too, but it's always good to have a glass to drink out of.
Ah, yes, a
I know.
glass.
Which, by the way, another reason the Boston Shaker's nice. You're always guaranteed to have one. No, so, kind of a standard thing I always love to do is put ice in glass first. What we're going to be making today is a little cocktail I kind of cobbled together called Spring Fling.
And one of the reasons you put the ice in there first is to chill the glass. Sometimes you can leave the ice in it. Sometimes you'll dump the ice before you put the drink in it. But having a cold glass is just always better for the drink.
Absolutely, but this ice is going to be kind of doing a little double duties. It's not just going to be cooling the glass, it's going to be cooling our first ingredient.
In the spring fling.
In
It's
the
funny
spring
because it's
fling.
spring.
Now, yes, this is not a traditional jigger. It's one of our little community cups we use for sampling, and it's because these are perfect quarter ounce. Now, this is blue curacao. It is curacao because it's the style of orange liqueur, and it's blue because it is blue.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Interesting.
So honestly, you'll see it used in a lot of tropical drinks, and it's just fun. And it's a nice way to having a citrus note in something while still giving it a little bit of fun color. And what's going to happen is this is kind of syrupy, which means it's thick. So now on top of being syrupy, when I pour it over this ice, I'm going to be cooling it down as well. So as that first ingredient in there, that is starting to get cold. Again, old physics lesson, cold stuff sinks. So this is actually going to help it stay down at the bottom of the glass. Now, after that, we're going to move into the jigger I'm using today. This is a 2 ounce and a 1 ounce.
You can tell because it has it etched.
The number 2.
All of them
Brought
have
to you by the
number 2. They all have the size that they're measuring in ounces etched on the side of them.
Now, the next one, this is going to be 2 ounces of pineapple juice.
And I'm going to zoom in again. So the technique Keith is currently doing is called layering.
So in this one, you're going to grab your cocktail spoon, and you're going to try and pour gently over the back of that cocktail spoon.
Which is called?
Loaded.
Yes, this is known as a bar float. And if you can see, it's because it is not fully integrating and is on top. Now, part of the reason Keith picked the ingredients he did is so that there would be a little bit of this gradient effect.
Because it's fun.
Because it's fun.
Now, in the next one, this is where we're going to be combining some ingredients. So, no matter what, the thing that's always going to come out on top of any floated drink is the thing
Pick me Ben.
is always going to be on top. Also, the thing with the most alcohol.
Okay.
Now, in this particular case, we're going to be using our hibiscus gin. And this is going to call for 1.5 ounces, so like a traditional shot. Now, we're not going directly in with that. We're actually going to bring in that 1.5 into our little shaker. And then, just because I wanted to have a little bit more flavor and be a little bit earthier, we're also going to be using some pinky bentonic. Tara's going to be putting this recipe up. But
Yes.
I did 1.5 ounces hibiscus gin, then a 1/2 ounce of our little tonic syrup. And then again, we're going to take that trusty cocktail spoon, combine our ingredients together. I know, it's so fascinating. And again, this is going to be another little float on top. And not chill, higher alcohol. Just want to pour it slowly over the back of the spoon.
With your purple shirt, it's kind of hard to see how pink that is, but it really is.
There we are.
There we go.
So again, the goal is how do you have this kind of layering show up? Of course, the bigger the drink, the better the layers are going to look. But it makes a beautiful, fun little tropical cocktail to go ahead and serve your guests. this beautiful little pastel-y blue. I'm so glad to be seeing you guys
Yay!
again.
All right, we're gonna do one of these.
We're gonna do one of these.
Oh wow, it's horrible lighting. Yeah.
I know. Is it the lighting or is it me?
It's the lighting. Oh, it's different choices. Guys, again, we're so excited to bring Port 4 back. We got a bunch of things planned. They all won't be here even. But Mondays.
Take this on the road.
Yeah.
Not
No, not that on the road, but we'll be taking this
on the road. Yeah.
4 o'clock on Mondays is when we will go live. We will also be adding the drinks we make. We're going to always make at least one drink because what is Pour It For without actually pouring?
Having a drink.
And then we also have some other fun stuff planned, but it will now be weekly on Mondays, barring any insanity.
And
we are doing it live and we are back open, which means you never know
what's gonna happen?
who's gonna pop in, what's gonna, what we're doing, what's going on.
You may pop in.
You may be here for a live Pour It For. But we will again post the recipes we make. If you guys have any topics you want to
Would like us to cover?
let us know. Send us a message. Send us an email. It is in fact the weekly. The weekly is back.
To be the weekly.
And so we wanted to start off with some bar basics. And you will get the recipe for the spring fling up probably in the next day or two.
In a little bit.
But as we like to finish the pours at fours, I don't even remember how we ended it. Does anybody remember how we ended it?
Pretty classic. It's keep your spirits up.
Oh, yes. Guys, keep your spirits up. Pour It For is back Mondays at 4. Cheers us, Keith, and take us out. Yay.